So, we will learn more about how digital ecosystems are impacting the business advantage, the competitive advantage, the business strategy, the marketing strategy in other modules in this course as well as in other courses. Okay. So, goods and services, previously in the previous slide I was talking about selling what you can make, right, but now goods and services are shifting to more of make to order, right, make to order business models or build to order, if you will, right. So, so now you can actually go online to a website. Nike is a good example that where you could go and configure your own shoe, right. You can basically customize it, your own shoe, right, and get it, right, within a week or whatever, right. So, that is a very good example of how the model is moving, right. Make to order models, and remember I talked about manufacturing is going to shift significantly. This is one of the reasons, right. Build to order is actually going to generate more distributed manufacturing facilities, very different from concentrated manufacturing facilities that we have seen before, right. So, is dramatically going to change how we make products, right, as well because of this effect of digital technologies. So, the third point is customers are expecting more choice with customization, right, to local markets, right. We talked about that as well in the digital 5 forces. Globalization, that was one of the big things that I talked about, and personalization to individual tastes and preferences is also a big expectation from customers, right. So, this is the consumerization is the digital force, right, that is making customers, us, you and me, behave differently. Our expectations of products and services and how companies communicate with us, interact with us, engage with us are all changing. Has changed dramatically as well, right. In some of the cases, like, so we no longer have, probably some of us have already cut the cord on cable television, right, and we are basically watching video content on demand, Netflix for example, Amazon Video, Amazon Prime Video for example, Hulu is another service, and we are going to see more and more services come out, right, over time. So, this is, so customers are, we are in control of the transaction, we are expecting a lot more, we are telling every company out there through our Facebook comments, through Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram and Pinterest and all of those social net media, we are expressing ourselves, right. We have the opportunity to do it and we are expressing ourselves, we are about our needs and wants and about what we like about a product and what we do not like about a product or a service, right. So, so that is really what is happening out there, right. So, and that is why you have to pay, every company small or big has the opportunity to innovate and then create a long lasting brand and sustainable advantage that is still possible in this world, right, even though it is very fast paced, right. Keeping up with the innovation and with the pace of innovation and then being able to deliver products that are in aligned with customer needs and wants is very challenging, right. But companies will figure out over time, right, as these digital technologies become more mature within their companies, right. So, the companies will develop a core capability, has to develop a core capability around that. I talked about that as well earlier in the course overview. Focus of trade and commerce among firms are determined basically by digital ecosystems and even within the country level balance of exports and imports. Country level balance of imports and exports is a metric that every country uses to figure out how the flow of trade is going. That is very important for every country's economy, right. So, it is a very sensitive topic now, right, because of globalization and homogenization of markets, right. That is the first point that I made. So, a lot of companies or a lot of countries or trying to figure out how can we differentiate, right? Cheese coming from New Zealand, or cheese that we make here, or we get cheese from Canada or somewhere else, right? So more and more those type of products are becoming more commoditized, if you will, right? So now the whole food industry is transforming rapidly, right? Now how do we make cheese? Why can't we make fresh cheese in the morning and deliver to you by afternoon or the next day, right? Why do we need to make cheese, import it from somewhere, for example, right? And then put a manufacturing plant and build the same type of cheese with some flavors on it. And so it's a whole dynamic of all this is changing, right? So we'll go deeper into this later on. So the focus of trade and commerce increasingly is not only being determined by country level balance of exports and imports, but also capabilities in the country, right? Country level capability means encouraging companies, providing companies with an infrastructure that can support digital technologies, right? So if you do not have the proper infrastructure in the country to provide broadband access to every one of the citizens, then it's very difficult to compete in this digital world that we live in. Planet Earth as we know it is transforming significantly because of digital technologies, right? The fifth point, access to global markets is no longer just for big companies, right? I already gave you an indication on that with an example of that small mom and pop store in Oakland, right? That store is instantly global, right? And access to global markets. So this lady started getting orders from Europe, Netherlands, Denmark, and so on for these unique artifacts that she used to sell. So even smaller companies can now compete in global markets. So so if you go back and think about what I said earlier, right? Manufacturing is going to become more distributed. What that means is that we as households may find ourselves in that value chain of producing a product, right? It seems very far-fetched, but it can happen, right? So we may become sort of a manufacturer, if you will, right, in this ecosystem, right, and make products, certain types of products that we like to do or we are very good at, right? We may end up being a small company, a small business, right? And just think about what happens to big manufacturing companies that we know of, right? How are they going to shift? How are you going to shift your business model in the digital era, right? So very fascinating subject, and so this should give you a very good sense of how the global business environment is shifting significantly. So we now move on to the global business challenges, right? What are some of the challenges? The first and foremost, right, digital technologies enabled by internet has basically leveled the playing fields, right? We already saw the example that I gave you. The small businesses can now compete with the big boys, right? So that's basically in this global economy, that's leveling the playing field in many aspects. Right? Standardized products are being commoditized with borderless commerce, right? The Vizio TV that you sell in the US is also known to people in Asia, for example, right? They see the same Vizio television in their own showrooms there, right? Very similar. There may be variations of the product for sure, right? We have variations in the same Vizio TV. The model number is different, but the features are the same whether you go to Costco or Best Buy. There's slight variations, right? So that is to for the channel, retail channel, to be able to offer something different, right? Otherwise, selling the same product like everyone else, which used to be the case when at the beginning of the post World War II Industrial Revolution, that's what happened. we started building factories to make the same product in many quantities. So, because everyone wanted it, right, and everybody didn't care about personal preferences and so on.